Well, I'm fucked.
And in my mother's womb was fashioned to be flesh in the time of 10 months, being compacted in blood of the seed of man.
That's right.
Of the seed of man.
The word seed is sperm, and sperm comes through having sex.
It's shut out of your father's rod.
Right.
Put it in layman terms, in his penis.
That's right.
That means a man put his penis in a woman and bust off in it.
Then the angel said to him, "Take out the entrails of this fish, and lay up his heart and his gall and his liver for thee. For these are necessary for useful medicines."
The rest of the chapters of the book of Esther,
Go ahead.
which are found neither in the Hebrew nor in the Chaldee.
Greetings, fellow worker slaves, podcasting at 128 kilobits from the Fortress of Squalitude. This is the Atheist in the Trailer Park podcast. I'm your host, Tucker. Professor Fuzznuts is curled up asleep somewhere. Yes, it's a podcast hosted by a guy and his cat. Get over it. This is finally Jake from the Arctic Atheist podcast and I, reading from the Wisdom of Solomon. Before I get to that, I've got to go over a few things, I'm afraid. None of which is at all pleasant for me. I have, unfortunately, gotten behind in my rent again and am facing eviction once more. Part of the problem is that after Houdini died, I was so distraught I didn't properly manage my finances. And when you live as close to the margins as I do, any slip-up can be fatal. Another part of the problem is that I had to miss a couple of days of work in January, and since I haven't been there a year, I don't have any paid time off to use for those occasions. I can put in a request for it, but when, as it happened on those days, it's a case of where I can't give advance notice that I'm going to be late, or I have to leave work early, or I have to miss entirely, I can't use it. This also makes it difficult for me to look for another job. I can take time off to go look for another job, but if a company calls me and says that they want me to come in the next day for an interview, I can't because my job requires 3 days advance notice for me to use one of my 2 vacation days that I have. Even if that weren't an issue, it's hard for me to look for a job as I don't get cell service at work, so I can't call during normal business hours if someone wants to talk to me about a job. I had planned on getting a dirt cheap phone with another cell provider this month that has service where I work, so I could do some job hunting, but now I don't have the money. This wouldn't have been a huge problem for me had not some other things also occurred this week. The first is that they've canceled overtime for me at work. Other people still get it, but the folks in my department don't. If I had it, then I could probably handle this on my own. And no, they won't let me work overtime in the other departments, so that option's out. Next is that I still haven't gotten paid by Patreon. They claim they've sent the money, but it hasn't shown up in my account. As small as the amount is, it would go a long way towards helping me with this. And of course, getting answers as to why the money hasn't appeared is next to impossible. I'm not bad-mouthing Patreon or anybody else. It's just one of those things of how the world works. Of course, because this is my life, things can't simply end there. My ride to and from work has gotten another job, so I'll soon be back to walking again. Still quicker than taking the bus to my old job, but not by much, which means that I can't even think about getting a second job. On the plus side, I will be able to catch up on all the podcasts I've not been able to listen to. I've also had a couple of Patreon supporters drop out because, like me, they're hurting for money. I'm sad to see them go, but I know exactly where they're coming from. And truthfully, what everybody should be doing at this point in time is socking away every nickel they can spare for when the inevitable economic crash comes. Assuming, of course, you actually have any nickels. And I had to turn down a job offer that would have paid $5 more an hour this week, thus ensuring that I wouldn't be in this boat again anytime soon, because I don't have a car and there's no bus service I could use to get to the job. Now, to handle the situation, what I'm doing, besides groveling and asking you folks to bail me out yet again, is I've cut back on everything. I've canceled my online subscriptions, which won't help me this month, but will mean that I've got an extra $20 next month. I have also figured out I can reduce my food budget to $60 a month by eating nothing but crappy Totino's frozen pizzas. Not exactly healthy, I know, and yes, I know there's all kinds of cookbooks that tell you how to eat healthy for like $4 a day. Those all require you to have lots of time to prepare the meal, clean the dishes, etc. With no car and no ride to work, I'm going to have very little time to do much of anything. I'll also be eating everything that's in the pantry and the freezer, even if it makes no sense to combine the things together. I mean, green beans, water chestnuts, and tomato paste aren't exactly a meal, but they're food, so I'll blend them all together and eat them, I guess. Oh, and yes, there is a food bank in town, but they're only open during the hours I'm at work, so I'd have to take off work to deal with that, which I can't afford to do, because I'm going to need those days off. I've got a doctor's appointment later this month that I can't reschedule, and I have to take a days off to have some blood work done before that. There goes my vacation days, assuming work approves them. If not, then I have to miss work without getting paid for it. And it's all related to my blood pressure issues, so I'm not dying. But if I don't keep getting my blood pressure meds, I certainly could have a stroke. The expenses I have yet to deal with this month are the electric bill, my internet service, and my phone bill. Of those, my internet and phone are on auto pay, so I've little control over those being paid. If the money is in my account, when those bills hit at 12:01 a.m., it's gone and I never see it because my paycheck hit the bank the minute before. The electric bill I can delay paying until about the 25th of this month. It might be the 21st since it is February and it's a short month. They like to fuck you like that sometimes. But if my electricity gets cut off, it'll be $300 to get turned back on. It's also technically illegal for me to live here with no power, so that's a bit of a problem. Then, of course, the first of the month will roll around and I'll probably be in a bit of a bind as well, at least in the short term. I keep eating frozen pizzas and whatever else I can scrounge up from around the house for another month or so, and I'll be able to gain a little headway even if I don't find a new job or get some overtime at work. I hope. But if I can't cough up the money my landlord is owed by the 1st of March, I don't have a place to live. I have, assuming I'm able to sort things out with Patreon, just over a third of the money I owe him. If I had no other bills between now and the end of the month and didn't spend anything on food, I might be able to manage it without getting overtime at work. But I've got those bills and I don't know what my income's going to be like for the rest of the month. If I get sick and have to miss a day, then I'm out of a significant chunk of my income. So I need your help with this. I know you folks have done more for me than I have a right to expect. As I said in the last episode, in terms of listeners to supporters, I've got a much higher ratio than most podcasts do, so I can't complain about that. I am grateful to all of you. I hate asking you for this, but I don't know what else to do. There's a PayPal link in the show notes at tparkatheist.blogspot.com, as well as a link to the GoFundMe page I set up the last time this happened. Right now, the GoFundMe total is sitting at $1,600, which is an old total, as that money went for the last time this happened and to cover the vet visits for Houdini and Fuzznuts. Anything you see over $1,600 will be a new contribution. I know it'd be less confusing if I took that one down and opened a new one, but I just don't have the nerves to do that at the moment. It's hard enough for me to do this. Throwing another log on the fire, as it were, is a bit much. It's taken me 5 hours to write this intro. Trying to come up with a new GoFundMe message would probably take me at least that long, and I still have all kinds of shit I have to do around the house. And I would apply to Modest Needs for help, but my landlord is avoiding me, like he always does at times like this. And I have to have paperwork from him to give to the folks at Modest Needs to prove that I need the money. as well as, they want his information so they can pay him. Oh, and as far as looking for a roommate to help with expenses in the future, I can't do that until I get some things fixed around here, and I don't have the money to do that. I've got part of a wall in one of the bedrooms that needs to be patched and some wiring that needs to be repaired, as well as a few other minor things, the lights. I got a toilet that leaks on the floor if I flush it, so, but a grand total for the cost of all that would probably be only a few $100s, but I don't have the money and would have trouble getting some of the things needed to the house without a car. Yeah, in theory, Lowe's delivers, but in reality, Lowe's delivers when they feel like it, so you can order it and they'll say they'll deliver it on Saturday, and then it shows up on Sunday, if you're lucky. They're sort of like the cable company that way. Then there's the time required to do all these things. Since I'll be walking to and from work in a week or two, I'm probably not going to have that. Okay. That's enough depressing stuff for now, I suppose. Here's Jake and I reading from the Wisdom of Solomon. All right, now, trying for the second time, Jake and I will be reading from the Wisdom of Solomon, which, as we discovered last time, doesn't really seem to have anything to do with Solomon.
Or much wisdom, for that matter.
Yeah, that's true. So, go ahead and take the first three.
All right, Wisdom of Solomon, Wisdom 1. Love righteousness, ye that be judges of the earth. Think of the Lord with a good heart, and in simplicity of heart seek him. For he will be found of them that tempt him not, and sheweth himself unto such as do not distrust him. For froward thoughts separate from God, and his power, when it is tried, reproveth the unwise.
And as we discovered in the last time, froward is not a typo, is actually well, I guess you'd call it an obsolete word since nobody uses it anymore, but for somebody who's spirited or contrarian who likes to think for themselves.
Oh, so I'm going to be referring to myself as a froward individual from here on out. Bringing it back.
Ouch. Sorry, Fuzznuts is on me and I haven't clipped these nails recently, so it's a bit sharp as he climbs up.
The old needle paws.
Yep. Okay. For into a malicious soul wisdom shall not enter, nor dwell in the body that is subject unto sin. Well, you can. That certainly fits Donald Trump. There's no wisdom there.
Yes.
For the Holy Spirit of discipline, kinky, will flee deceit and remove from thoughts that are without understanding, and will not abide when unrighteousness cometh in. For wisdom is a loving spirit, and will not acquit a blasphemer of his words. For God is witness of his reins, and a true beholder of his heart, and a hearer of his tongue.
I didn't know. I hope that means language and not the actual tongue, because if an actual tongue starts speaking, I'm going to make sure I'm not on acid.
Yeah.
For the Spirit of the Lord filleth the world, and that which containeth all things hath knowledge of the voice. Therefore he that speaketh unrighteous things cannot be hid, neither shall vengeance, when it punisheth, pass by him. For inquisition shall be made unto the counsels of the ungodly, and sound his words shall come unto the Lord for the manifestation of his wicked deeds.
Dun dun dun!
Heresy must be punished.
Yeah.
I'm playing a lot of 40k this week, so. Inquisition just brings up images of large tanks painted like cathedrals mowing over hordes of Xenos.
It just brings the Mel Brooks musical number to my mind. For the ear of jealousy heareth all things, and the noise of murmurings is not hid. Therefore, beware of murmuring, which is unprofitable, and refrain your tongue from backbiting. Yeah, that'd be pretty much a bitch if your tongue bit itself.
Well, it can clearly speak, so it has its own mouth. So it can bite you when you start talking poorly.
It's like that, did you ever watch Courage the Cowardly Dog?
A few episodes here or there.
There was one where Eustace gets turned into a giant infected evil foot, and each of the toes has their own mouths.
Oh, terrifying.
Yeah. And they all spoke like 50s era movie gangsters.
Yeah, see?
Yep. For there is no word so secret that shall go for naught, and the mouth that belieth slayeth the soul. Seek not death in the error of your life, and pull not upon yourselves destruction with the works of your hands. Now, in light of a few things, I have to pause here, because, all these Christians who are working towards and hoping for the apocalypse to come, this is a direct statement saying, no, don't do that.
Yeah, no, I get you there. Yeah, it will come on its own.
Yeah, there's NPR did a story years ago about a group that every year they go over to Israel. They're fundamentalist, apocalyptic Christians who go over to Israel to do good works to help bring about the apocalypse.
What a cheery sort of people.
And the Israelis just use them as for free labor.
Well, I would hope so.
There was a guy, the guy they interviewed, and I don't remember his name, but he and his son, they spent the summer working, for free in a vineyard in Israel. And, I forget what the deal was like. I don't know if there was something unique about him and his son as far as their relationship went. Like they were, like the son was adopted or something like that. I don't remember. But anyways, the guy was using whatever his relationship with his son and the fact that they worked in the vineyard as, he was quoting a biblical passage which made a vague reference to a father and son working together in somebody else's vineyard. And and that was somehow a prelude to the apocalypse. And he's like, see, this is powerful. We're helping to bring prophecy to fruition. And it's like, dude, I'm sure there's lots of fathers and sons who've worked in vineyards in Israel over the centuries, and none of them have. But somehow he and his son were so special that they were going to make the prophecy happen and Armageddon come.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Did you catch, I think it was this week's Scathing Atheist?
Yeah, oh yeah.
The diatribe all about the apocalypse?
Yeah. Funny story. The 1988 one I remember quite well because a gal I worked with, her husband worked in an office where the janitor believed it.
Yeah.
And I think it was the apocalypse was supposed to happen like in October of '88 or something like that. It was in the fall of the year. And so the guy, the gal's husband was complaining because their janitor believed that, and this was, like a couple of, supposed to happen, let's say it was supposed to happen at the end of October, and this was the beginning of October.
Yeah.
He was complaining because the janitor had said, well, I'm not going to do certain things like empty the trash cans because the world's going to end at the end of the month, so it doesn't matter.
Sounds like a good way to get fired.
Well, they didn't, of course, they wouldn't fire him because he was a good Christian man, and this is Tennessee, And the guy and the gal's husband was complaining because we're having to clean the offices because this guy thinks the world's going to end. And the three of us had a laugh about him thinking that the world was going to end.
My face is in my palm and it is shaking back and forth.
Yeah.
All right, taking it away. For God made not death, neither hath he pleasure in the destruction of the living. For he created all things, for they might have their being, and the generations of the world were healthful, and there is no poison of destruction in them, nor the kingdom of death upon the earth. For the righteousness is immortal. But ungodly men with their works and words called it to them. For when they thought to have it their friend, they consumed it not, and made a covenant with it, because they are worthy to take part with it.
Yeah.
We're worthy to take part in death.
Yeah.
I'll have the chicken then.
But not the fish?
I was calling over to Eddie Izzard joke, the cake or death skit.
Well, I was calling back to Airplane.
Ah, there you go.
Did you?
I didn't catch that one.
Oh,
good reference.
Yeah, the half the passengers or crew are sick because either the fish or the chicken had gone bad. Mm-hmm. And Leslie Nielsen's like, I have to know who had the fish or the chicken or the fish. But anyways, one of those bits you kind of have to see.
Yep. Conveniently enough, both references took part on airplanes.
That's true. All right, Wisdom 2. For the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not aright, our life is short and tedious, and in the death of a man there is no remedy. Yet earlier, he said there was no death.
No, we brought it upon ourselves, remember? We made a covenant with death, because we don't like living, apparently.
Yeah. Neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave. And yet, this is patently absurd because at the time this would have been written, there would have been all kinds of legends of the dead rising from the grave.
Yeah.
For we are born at all adventure, and we shall be hereafter as though we had never been. For the breath in our nostrils is as smoke, and a little spark in the moving of our heart, which is a kind of poetic line. Which being extinguished, our body shall be turned into ashes, and our spirit shall vanish as the soft air.
This is all of the poetic stuff, and then it gets into the really weird stuff pretty soon, right?
Yeah.
I
believe so.
Yeah. So, continuing poetry. And our name shall be forgotten in time, and no man shall have our works in remembrance. And our life shall pass away as the trace of a cloud, and shall be dispersed as a mist that is driven away with the beams of the sun, and overcome with the heat thereof. For our time is a very shadow that passeth away, and after our end there is no returning, for it is fast sealed, and no man cometh again. Come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present, and let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth.
Let us fill ourselves with costly wine and ointments, and let no flower of the spring pass us by. Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds before they be withered. Let none of us go without his part of our voluptuousness. Let us leave tokens of our joyfulness in every place. Well, that explains why so many things are sticky. For this is our portion, and our lot is this.
So something I missed the first time we read this was, let us fill ourselves with costly wine. That makes sense. And ointments. Why would you want to eat or fill yourself in another way with an ointment? That doesn't sound pleasant.
No, it doesn't. Of course, who knows what kind of ointments they had back then.
True.
What was it? Tobit? No. And with the one of the first ones I read had this guy who, he had Esdras. That's who it was. He, he went on this fast for like a month, right? And then to break his fast, God told him to go out into this field and eat all the flowers. So he goes out to this field, eats the flowers, and then he starts hallucinating. And
as you do.
Visions. Yes, and it's like, I wonder if those were poppies.
Yeah, I was about to say, it might be opium poppies you're eating there, bud.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm thinking they were. Maybe they had some kind of opium-based ointment that they're talking about.
Well, maybe it's the ointment that the witches used, quote-unquote witches, back in medieval Europe, where they would make a salve or an oil from certain herbs that would, when rubbed on the skin or ingested, cause hallucinations and feeling of like enlightenment and like you're flying.
Yes, Datura, a.k.a. Morning Glory, was one of them. And I think Morning Glories are found in that part of the world, if I'm not mistaken. I looked it up because it came up, and I believe they're from that part of the world. And the medieval bit about them was that supposedly the women would rub the Datura oil on their broomstick and then, get naked and ride the broomstick, and because the mucous membranes in the vagina would absorb it better.
I heard that it was really hard to get out of the clothing, so they just would use it, up the skirt without having to actually take off any clothes, which is why you see people riding brooms. But I could see both sides of the equation.
Yeah. But there's so much weird bullshit from that era.
So much weird things. Let us oppress the poor righteous man. Yes, the poor man who is righteous. We shall oppress him hard, very hard. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the aged. Let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth. Therefore let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn. He is clean, contrary to our doings. He upbraideth us with our offending the law, and objecteth to our infamy the transgressions of our transgressions of our education.
Yeah, now,
so clearly the frat boys who are partying in the first 12 or so lines are about to meet the sheriff, who is quite annoyed at them.
Well, what gets me is, why would they care anything about the elderly, since elderly people tend to be feeble, so, and they say feeble is worthless, so why even bother messing with them?
Yeah,
because they're not worth it.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Kind of makes my job redundant, if that's true.
He professeth to have the knowledge of God, and he calleth himself the child of the Lord. He was made to reprove our thoughts. He is grievous unto us even to behold, for his life is not like other men's. His ways are of another fashion. So he's gay.
He's fabulous. That's what he is. He's fabulous. We are esteemed of him as counterfeits. He abstaineth from our ways as from filthiness. Still fabulous. Mm-hmm. He pronounceth the end of the just to be blessed, and maketh his boast that God is his Father. Let us see if his words be true. Let us prove that what shall happen in the end of him. For if the just man be the Son of God, we will help him and deliver him from the hand of his enemies, by tying him up and putting him in the lake.
Yeah. Let us examine him with despitefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience. Let us condemn him with a shameful death, for by his own saying he shall be respected. Such things they did imagine, and were deceived, for their own wickedness hath blinded them.
And as for the mysteries of God, they knew them not, neither hoped they for the wages of righteousness, nor discerned a reward for blameless souls. For God created man to be immortal, and then made him to be an image of his own eternity. Nevertheless, though through envy of the devil came death into the world, and they that do hold of his side do find it. Unless, of course, you read the Genesis books and go, hey, there was no devil in here. It was just a weird talking snake thing.
Yeah. Wisdom 3. But the souls of the righteous are in the hand of God, and there shall no torment touch them. In the sight of the unwise they seem to die, and their departure is taken for misery. And their going from us to be utter destruction, but they are in peace.
This is...
So they're not really dead, they just look that way.
Shh, they're sleeping.
There's a tribe in, I think, the Amazon. I don't remember. It's been so long since I had an anthropology class where the instructor talked about it. But when somebody dies, they have different degrees of death.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you're dead for... You're mostly dead. You put it that way. When you're really dead... But they consider you to still be alive, even though you're motionless, and they leave you laying around for a couple of days. And then, after that, they bury you because it's the tropics, you'll start to stink. Mm-hmm. But they still consider you to be alive for a year after you're dead. I mean, they put out a plate, put food on the plate for you, everything. And then, at the end of the year, then you're really dead, and that's when they begin their actual mourning.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That, weird. Okay, then. For though they be punished in the sight of men, yet it is their hope full of immortality. And having been a little chastened, they be greatly rewarded, for God provided them, and found them worthy for himself. As gold in the furnace hath he tried them, and received them as a burnt offering.
God likes his meat well done.
Yeah, he likes the smell of grilled meat. Loves it.
And in the time of their visitation, they shall shine, and run to and fro like sparks among the stubble. They shall judge the nations, and have dominion over the people, and their Lord shall reign forever. They that put their trust in him shall understand the truth, and such as be faithful in love shall abide with him. For grace and mercy is to his saints, and he hath care for his elect. Okay, so these people who apparently... Well, I can't tell if these are the good folks who are going to be running amok, or it's the bad folks who are going to be running amok. But somebody's going to be running amok.
They capitalized L in Lord, so I'm going to go with good people are running amok. But the ungodly shall be punished according to their own imaginations. Fuck me. Hope not. Which have neglected the righteous, and forsaken the Lord. For whoso despiseth, I still messed that one up, wisdom and nurture, he is miserable, and their hope is vain, their labors unfruitful, and their works unprofitable. For their wives are foolish, and their children wicked.
Their offspring is cursed. Wherefore, blessed is the barren that is undefiled, which hath not known the sinful bed. She shall have fruit in the visitation of souls. Meaning she's going to have sex with ghosts, I guess.
Maybe.
And blessed is the eunuch, which with his hands hath wrought no iniquity, nor imagined wicked things against God. For unto him shall be given the special gift of faith and an inheritance in the temple of the Lord more acceptable to his mind. I have to point out that in Europe, the castrati singers were highly sought after as lovers by women because the women didn't have to worry about getting pregnant. Mm-hmm. So that puts paid to that idea there, guys.
Yep.
For glorious is the fruit of good labors, and the root of wisdom shall never fall away. Of course, that's just saying if you've got a lot of shit, then you've been a good person, irrespective of how you got all that shit.
Yeah, no. I'm going to get some shit from my roommate's room real quick. Be right back? Okay.
Yeah.
No. As for the children of adulterers, they shall not come to their perfection. The seed of an unrighteous bed shall be rooted out. For though they live long, yet shall they be nothing regarded, and their last age shall be without honor. For if they die quickly, they will have no hope, neither comfort in the day of trial. For horrible is the end of the unrighteous generation.
So, if your parents were unfaithful, you get punished for it. Doesn't matter what.
Is your last name Snow?
Huh?
Is your last name Snow because you're boned?
Yeah. Wisdom 4. Better it is to have no children and to have virtue, for the memorial thereof is immortal, because it is known with God and with men. Okay, here's a problem. Because at that time, if you were a woman and your husband died without you having children, you were supposed to marry one of his male relatives so that they could give you a child. Mm-hmm. And this is basically contradicting that, saying, well, you know what, if you don't have any kids, that's fantastic.
Well, maybe this is a progressive book.
Did you hit your head? Are you high?
No, not yet.
When it is present, men take example at it, and when it is gone, they desire it. It weareth a crown, and triumpheth forever, having gotten the victory, striving for undefiled rewards. So apparently you're saying men prefer virgins to non-virgins. Personally, I like a woman who's been around the block a few times and knows how to get where she wants to go.
Agreed.
But the multiplying brood of the ungodly shall not thrive. There's about 1 billion Chinese and about 1 billion Indians who would disagree with that. Nor take deep rooting from the bastard slips, nor lay any fast foundation. Again, both the Chinese and Indians have rather old civilizations.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't believe in Yahweh or Jehovah.
Jehovah, you know. Yeah, no, all of the Middle Eastern books seem to conveniently forget the existence of the East.
Yeah, where all their silks and stuff came from. That they
don't tell anyone.
They knew those places existed.
Oh, yeah, of course they did. We were trading with them from day one.
Yeah. I mean, Alexander the Great made it all the way to India.
Yeah.
And, you know, there was all kinds of trade way back, even before biblical times, from that part, you know, from the Mideast to India and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But it's never mentioned in the book. And of course
not.
There's a couple of other continents that are never mentioned in the Bible either that, you know, were there the entire time.
Well, they weren't on the four corners of the earth. The earth only became round when we figured it out. 5 years before the Bible was written.
I would love to see if there was somebody, some fundamentalist apologetic type who said that, oh no, America, Australia, Antarctica, and the other places that were undiscovered and unmentioned in the time of the Bible, those didn't exist until people went out to explore those areas. At the time the Bible was written, it's only the places discussed in the Bible existed.
I mean, you could probably get that out of Ray Comfort.
Probably could. Of course, he doesn't even know that the Bible says rabbits chew their cud and that bats are birds.
Well, of course not. He's a businessman.
Yeah.
For though they flourish in branches for a time, yet standing not last, they shall be shaken with the wind, and through the force of winds they shall be rooted out. The imperfect branches shall be broken off, their fruit unprofitable, not ripe to eat, yea, meeting for nothing. For children begotten of unlawful beds are witnesses of wickedness against their parents in trial.
Like the kids would know that. Oh, yeah, I definitely remember being shot out of my dad's wang and swimming up into the uterus and nailing that egg. Or I definitely remember dropping out of my mother's fallopian tube into her uterus and then getting hit with some jizz. I don't think so.
I can think of only one example. Stewie Griffin.
Yeah, you're right there. Well, Rupert, his brother, also probably was the same way.
Yeah, but didn't they never get Rupert out?
Yeah,
he was always hiding.
No, they got him out.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
I stopped watching so long ago.
Yeah, no, Peter needed money or something and made a donation to a sperm bank, and because he's Peter, he accidentally knocked over all the sample cups, so rather than admit that, he filled them all up. And then Rupert was born and showed up. And
well, I'm sure that's great for the gene pool.
Yeah. But though the righteous be prevented with death, yet shall he be in rest. Okay, that doesn't really make much sense. For honorable age is not that which standeth in length of time, nor that is measured by number of years. But wisdom is the gray hair unto men, and an unspotted life is old age. Wow. As someone who is getting older, I just have to say, it sucks having a body that's nearly 50 years old. I would much prefer to have a body that was nearly 20 years old. So, if leading a good life meant my body was feeling even older than it is now, I'll take the spotted life over the unspotted life.
I agree with you. Yeah. Very, very well said. Side note. Apparently one of my friends on Steam is named Vegemite Sandwich. Just a fun fact I thought everyone would like. He pleased God, and was beloved of him, so that living among sinners he was translated. Yeah, speedily he was taken away, lest that wickedness should alter his understanding, or deceit beguile his soul. For the bewitching of naughtiness doth obscure things that are honest, and the wandering of copulescence doth undermine the simple mind.
So, we're going to kill you before you get evil.
Yeah, basically. So,
that explains the fact that women spontaneously abort like 2/3 of their pregnancies?
Yeah, totally. It's 66% of sinners are just gone before they get there. We're good. Man, imagine if there were 66% more sinners in the world.
Wow. We would be hugely overpopulated.
Bigly overpopulated.
He, being made perfect in a short time, fulfilled a long time. Fucky, love you, wrong time.
Oh, $20.
For his soul pleased the Lord, therefore hasted he to take him away from among the wicked. This the people saw and understood it not. Neither laid they up this in their minds, that his grace and mercy is with his saints, and that he hath respect unto his chosen. Huh.
Okay then. Thus the righteous that is dead shall condemn the ungodly which are living, and youth that is soon perfected the many years, and old age of the unrighteous. For they see the end of the wise, and shall not understand what God in his counsel hath decreed of him, and to what end the Lord hath set him in safety. They shall see him and despise him, but God shall laugh them to scorn, and they shall hereafter be a vile carcass, and reproach among the dead forevermore. Evermore. For he shall rend them, and cast them down headlong, and they shall be speechless. He shall shake them from the foundation, and they shall be utterly laid to waste, and be in sorrow, and their memorial shall perish. And when they cast up the accounts of their sins, they shall come with fear, and their own iniquities shall convince them to their face.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, 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 dun. Sounds like the beginning of that sounds like the end of one movie with 2 sequels to come.
Yeah. Wisdom 5. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him, and made no account of his labors. When they see it, they'll shit bricks.
Basically,
they shall be troubled with they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation. So far beyond all that they looked for. And they, repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit, shall say within themselves, This was he whom we had sometimes in derision, and a proverb of reproach.
Ooh, I get to read the proverb. We fools accounted his life madness, and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered among the children of God, and his lot is among the saints? Therefore we have erred away from the truth, and light of righteousness hath not shined unto us, and the sin of righteousness rose not upon us. Son of righteousness, not sin.
Yeah. So they were living their lives in the dark. We wearied ourselves in the way of wickedness and destruction. Yea, we have gone through deserts with on a horse with no name, where there lay no way. But as for the way of the Lord, we have not known it. What hath pride profited us? Or what good hath riches with our vaunting brought us? All those things are passed away like a shadow, like sands in the hourglass. So go the days of our lives. And as a post that hasted by.
And as a ship that passeth over the waves of the water, which when it is gone by, the trace thereof cannot be found, neither the pathway of the keel in the waves. Or as when a bird hath flown through the air, there is no token of her way to be found, but the light air being beaten with the stroke of her wings, and parted with the violent noise and motion of them, it is passed through, and therein afterwards no sign where she went is to be found. Or like as when an arrow is shot at a mark, it parteth the air, which immediately cometh together again, so that a man cannot know where it went through.
Even so we, in like manner, as soon as we were born, began to draw to our end, and had no sign of virtue to show, but were consumed in our own wickedness. For the hope of the godly is like dust that is blown away with the wind, like a thin froth that is driven away with the storm, like as the smoke which is dispersed here and there with a tempest, and passeth away as the remembrance of a guest that tarrieth but a day. But the righteous live for evermore. Evermore. Their reward is also with the Lord, and the care of them is with the Most High.
So, A, I'm really glad you did the Evermore thing. Glad that caught on. 2, number 14 starts with, the hope of the godly is like dust that is blown away.
Yeah.
So does that mean people who are godly, their hopes are just like, dashed upon the waves of reality, and then, but they still live forever? I don't understand this. Apparently they can't have hope.
It's like Kansas lyrics. You can't really understand them.
Therefore shall they receive a glorious kingdom, and a beautiful crown from the Lord's hand, for which his hand shall he cover them, and with his arm he shall protect them. He shall take him his jealousy for complete armor, and make the creature his weapon for the revenge of his enemies. He shall put on righteousness as a breastplate, and true judgment instead of a helmet.
I think if you had good judgment, you would want a helmet.
Judge Dredd proves that point.
Yes. And what's his name who was in the most recent movie version?
Bones. I don't know his real name.
Yeah, I can't think of his real name either. He never smiled that entire movie.
I know, it was wonderful.
Yeah. He shall take holiness for an invincible shield. I'd want titanium. Or adamantium.
Adamantine.
His severe wrath shall he sharpen for a sword, and the world shall fight with him against the unwise. Then shall the right aiming thunderbolts go abroad. So Zeus is going to hit everybody outside of Greece. Or Thor hit everybody outside of Scandinavia.
Yep.
And from the clouds, as from a well-drawn bow, shall they fly to the mark. And hailstones full of wrath shall be cast as out of a stone bow, which is a crossbow designed to fire pellets, not bolts.
As we learned the first time we recorded this.
Yes, and probably did not date from this era, so this is somehow a later interpolation because crossbows weren't known in this part of the world.
It was probably more likely a sling or a catapult.
Right. And the water of the sea shall rage against them, and the floods shall cruelly drown them. Yea, a mighty wind shall stand up against them, and like a storm shall blow them away. Thus iniquity shall lay waste the whole earth, and ill-dealing shall overthrow the thrones of the mighty. Well, we're seeing that now.
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily, Florida's going underwater soon, though.
Yeah, that's true.
To move all that crazy up into Georgia. Just move it up. Wisdom 6. Hear therefore, O ye kings, and understand. Learn ye that be judges of the ends of the earth. Give ear, ye that rule the people, and glory in the multitude of nations. For power is given you of the Lord, and sovereignty from the highest, who shall try your works and search out your counsels. So God's going to come to me for advice. Cool. I got a few things to point out.
Yeah, like putting the snack bar so close to the shithole, not really a good idea.
Nah, not particularly. Can we reroute that a little bit? Thanks.
Because being ministers of his kingdom, ye have not judged aright, nor kept the law, nor walked after the counsel of God. Horribly and speedily shall he come upon you, for a sharp judgment shall be to them that be in high places. For mercy will soon pardon the meanest, but mighty men shall be mightily tormented.
So, question. Is Trump's private suite on the top of Trump Tower?
Yes, I believe so.
Ooh, so he's going to be mightily sharply judged.
Yeah.
For he which is the Lord shall over all fear no man's person. Neither shall he stand in awe of any man's greatness, for he hath made the small and the great, and careth for all alike. But a sore trial shall come upon the mighty. Unto you, therefore, O kings, do I speak, that ye may learn wisdom and not fall away. Essentially, hey guys, get your shit together.
For they that keep holiness holily, Jesus, shall be judged holy by the Department of Redundancy Department. And they that have learned such things shall find what to answer. Okay. This is one of those things that sounds profound, but when you parse it, is meaningless bullshit.
Deepity.
Yeah. Wherefore set your affection upon my words, desire them, and ye shall be instructed. Wow, chicka, wow, wow. Wisdom is glorious and never fadeth away. Yea, she is easily seen of them that love her, and found of such as seek her. I'm betting she's a dominatrix.
Perhaps she is. Perhaps. She preventeth them that desire. Theory is getting stronger. In making herself known unto them. Whoso seeketh her early shall have no great travail, for he shall find her sitting at his doors. To think therefore upon her is perfection of wisdom, and whoso watcheth for her shall quickly be without care. Aftercare is important, everyone. Aftercare is important.
For she goeth about seeking such as are worthy of her, showeth herself favorably unto them in the ways, and meeteth them in every thought. For the very true beginning of her is the desire of discipline, and the care of discipline is love. She's a dominatrix, all right. And love is the keeping of her laws. Who's been a naughty boy?
Not me. I'm good.
And the giving heed unto her laws is the assurance of incorruption. Yeah.
Well, this is especially good because Valentine's Day is only 4 days away from recording.
Ah, that's true.
Yeah. And incorruption maketh us near unto God. Therefore the desire of wisdom bringeth to a kingdom. If your delight be then in thrones and scepters, O ye kings of the people, honor wisdom, that ye may reign for evermore. Evermore.
As for wisdom, what she is, and how she came up, I will tell you, and will not hide mysteries from you, but will seek her out from the beginning of her nativity, and bring the knowledge of her into light, and will not pass over the truth. I wonder if this is an era when the Jews actually had multiple gods.
Or it might be.
Yeah. Neither will I go with consuming envy, for such a man shall have no fellowship with wisdom. In other words, he likes to wife swap.
Yeah.
But the multitude of the wise is the welfare of the world. Okay, that's a true statement.
True.
The more smart people they are, the better the world is. And a wise,
very true.
And a wise king is the upholding of the people. Okay, I'll disagree with that slightly. Receive, therefore, instruction through my words, and it shall do you good.
Another thought, maybe wisdom is like a personification of like an oracle or something.
Yeah, that could be.
It seems like they're kind of always going out to find a new wisdom chick, or the wisdom chick is always not around. So maybe it's like the Greek oracles, and they have to go find the volcanic gas living oracle lady and find out what wisdom they have for her, or she has for them.
Could very well be. It's certainly not implausible. All right. Well, you want to take Wisdom 7, and then we'll wrap this up?
I think I can do that. Dig it in. I myself also am a mortal man. Well, if that was a period, that would be a true statement, but it's a comma, so let's keep finding out how mad it gets. Like to all, and the offspring of him that was first made of the earth. I knew it would turn to bullshit. And in my mother's womb I was fashioned to be flesh in the time of 10 months. Hey, problem about that.
Yeah.
About a month over, guy. Being compacted in blood of the seed of man, and the pleasure that came with sleep.
Okay.
I don't think it was sleep, but...
I got to interrupt here. On the Apocrypha episodes, the intro bumper I use has these preachers who are... they're YouTube preachers, right?
Uh-huh.
And they're the clip I got it from, it's these African-American guys sitting in a house somewhere with the door open, so the audio is really fucked up in parts. And that section you just read is one of the audio clips I used from them in the bumper. And the bumper is really hysterical because it's like, they're explaining this, and the guy's, so he's saying his father put his rod in his mother and broke it off, came in her.
That sounds unpleasant.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so, that's, I was wondering when we were going to get to that part, because I did when I was putting the intro together, I did a, YouTube search trying to find audio clips of people reading from that, from the Apocrypha, and I got that one, and that was just beautiful because of, the whole thing. And they're sitting there, a couple of them are sitting there in garments, like priest vestment type things, well, not priest, but they're worship service garments that a religious, a preacher would wear. But like I said, they're in some guy's living room. They've got the door open, and at one point in the video's like an hour long. One of them has to go outside and quiet the neighbor, or the dogs that are barking. It's just the strangest thing, and this is where that came from. So I found that interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. And then hit verse 3.
And when I was born, I drew in the common air, and fell upon the earth, which is of like nature. The earth is like nature?
Yeah.
The first voice which I uttered was crying, as all others do.
Yeah. I was nursed in swaddling clothes, and that with cares. For there is no king that had any other beginning of birth, for all men have one entrance into life, and the light going out. Wait, we get sucked up into a vagina when we die? It's not a bad way to go, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, if you're a gay man, that's probably not how you want to end your life. But for a straight male or a lesbian, that's
Yeah. I'm gonna go out of this world like I came in, screaming and covered in blood.
or the sadistic version of it is, I'm going to go out of this world as I came in, screaming and covered in someone else's blood.
Oh, good one. Yeah, that one works. Wherefore I prayed, and understanding was given to me. I called upon God, and the spirit of wisdom came to me. I preferred her before scepters and thrones, and esteemed riches nothing in comparison to her. Neither compared I unto her any precious stone, because all gold in respect of her is as the little sand, and silver shall be counted as clay before her.
Yeah, so I'm not rich or a king, but I'm smart. That's what I picked. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Still, this is sounding a lot like an oracle that you just you get, and then she liked her because she's cute.
Yeah, well, as a friend of mine has said on more than one occasion, boy, I sure wish I was born rich and ugly instead of poor and good looking.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm born poor and ugly. I have the worst of both worlds.
Well, I'm pretty much in the same boat, so.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. I loved her above health and beauty. Well, that doesn't seem very wise. And chose to have her instead of light. That's really stupid.
Hey, I don't like the sun. I'm completely on board with this.
For the light that cometh from her never goeth out. All good.
Oh, she's a light? Ugh.
Yeah.
Bioengineered.
There's a TV show called Better Off Ted. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I have not.
It's on Netflix. It's like a cross between Office Space. Office Space and Mad Men.
Okay.
And
interesting.
The main character is a guy named Ted. He works for this company called Viridian Dynamics. That's this, mega corporation that does all these things, and they're basically evil, but nobody really wants to admit it. And in one of the episodes, they do this. They genetically engineer a glow-in-the-dark squirrel, which they call a fire squirrel. And by the end of the episode, you find out that the squirrel has gone insane because it can never sleep because the light keeps it awake.
Oh, that would be horrifying.
Yeah. All good things together came to me with her, and innumerable riches in her hands. Mm-hmm. And I rejoiced in them all, because wisdom goeth before them, and I knew not that she was the mother of them. Well, that's not very wise, if you didn't know that.
So, not only is this cute chick of wisdom that he likes keeping him away from everything else, also, she's the mother of all good things. Mm. I learned diligently and do communicate her liberally. I do not hide her riches. I do communicate her liberally? What the bloody hell does that mean?
I have no idea.
Okay. Moving right along. For she is a treasure unto men that never faileth, which they that use become the friends of God, being commended for gifts that come from learning.
So they're Quakers.
Apparently. God hath granted me to speak as I would, and to conceive as is meet for the things that are given me, because it is he that leadeth unto wisdom and directeth the wise.
Righty.
More confusing nonsense.
For in his hand are both we and our words, all wisdom also, and knowledge of workmanship. For he hath given me certain knowledge of the things that are, namely, to know how the world was made, and the operation of the elements, the beginning, ending, and midst of the time, the alterations of the turning of the sun, and the change of seasons.
So, clearly these guys don't know how orbital mechanics works.
No, not the least.
Not even the kinda. The circuit of years and the positions of stars, the natures of living creatures and the furies of wild beasts, the violence of winds and the reasonings of men, the diversities of plants and the virtues of roots. And all such things are either secret or manifest. Them I know.
For wisdom, which is the worker of all things, taught me. For in her is an understanding spirit holy, one only, manifold, subtle, lively, clear, undefiled, plain, not subject to hurt, loving the thing that is good, quick. No, most women don't like a guy who's quick, in my experience, which cannot be letted. And if you can't get your nut with a chick, she's really not happy with you. Because after a while, she's like, would you just get off?
Yeah.
And get off me.
In that order.
Ready to do good. Kind to man, steadfast, sure, free from care, having all power, overseeing all things. Then why are there so many stupid things in the world? And going through all understanding, pure, and most subtle spirits. So she's into the booze. For wisdom is more moving than any motion. She patheth and goeth through all things by reason of her pureness.
You know what? Wisdom is starting to sound like a pretty good gal.
Yeah.
All those spirits. For she is the breath of power of God, and pure influence flowing from the glory of the Almighty. Therefore can no defiled thing fall unto her.
Wait, wouldn't that make her the Megaron?
The Megaron?
Yes, that's, I think that's the name of it. That's the angel of God who is the voice of God.
Gotcha.
What's his name? Played him in Dogma. Rick something. He was
Rick James?
No. By Grabthar's hammer.
I know who you're talking
Rick
about.
Wakeman?
I just watched Dogma. I'm terrible with actors' names, so I'm no help here.
He died last year, I think.
Sad.
Yeah.
Where was I at? Right. For she is the brightness of the everlasting light, the unspotted mirror of the power of God. Unspotted is a bad thing. We learned this already. Mirror of the power of God, and in the end, the image of his goodness. And being but one, she can do all things, and remaining in herself, she maketh all things new. And in all ages, entering into holy souls, she maketh them friends of God and prophets.
Woohoo! For God loveth none but him that dwelleth with wisdom. Okay, this kind of points out a flaw in the reasoning of the Christians who support Trump. Just gonna throw that out there.
I'm just pointing my hand at the microphone because you're right.
For she is more beautiful than the sun. Well, actually, the sun is a fiery ball of death.
The sun is a massive incandescent gas, a giant nuclear furnace. Continue.
Yeah. And you'll burn your eye sockets looking at it.
Especially in a telescope.
Yeah. And above all the order of stars, well, actually, the sun isn't, but I guess you could say wisdom was, I guess, and poetically speaking. Being compared with the light, she is found before it. So she's faster than Einstein says she can be.
I mean, you can beat light around a curve if you can cut across anyway.
Yeah.
No.
For after this cometh night, but vice shall not prevail against wisdom. Again, I want to point out who our president is.
Yeah, about that.
Okay, so we've successfully hit the hour mark. Jake, why don't you go ahead and tell us a bit about your podcast?
Well, I now host the Arctic Atheist podcast, which, as of today, is going on a every other week schedule because my life got hectic. Yay! You can find the Arctic Atheist at Spreaker.com/ArcticAtheist, or the Arctic Atheist. I've got a Facebook page, a Twitter, and a Gmail, all linked at the bottom of that. You can find me on Twitter at Arctic_Atheist. My podcast is about whatever happens to pop on my mind, whether that be politics, religion, or whatnot. It's between 10 and an hour and 20 minutes long, or more, or less. It depends on the week, because I'm really inconsistent.
Know how it goes. And I will have all that linked in the show notes. I thank you, and we will do this again sometime.
I thank you very much for having me on, and it would be a pleasure to join you once again for this nonsense.
That's it for this episode of the Atheist in the Trailer Park podcast. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, as well as just about anywhere else podcasts can be found. Many of the episodes are also on YouTube. Follow the show on Twitter. @TParkAtheist is the show's Twitter handle. It's on Facebook at facebook.com/trailerparkatheist.com. If you happen to like the podcast, please rate it on iTunes. If you'd like to support the podcast, there's a donate button on the show notes page. You can support it via Patreon at patreon.com/TNTucker. Thanks for listening.
Say goodnight, Fuzz-Nuts.
All I know is this violates every canon of respectable broadcasting.
Damned cat.